One of the strengths of my neurodivergence is pattern recognition, aggressive pattern recognition. I see it everywhere. And as a result, it enables me spot business opportunities and things like that almost everywhere. One of the earliest patterns that I brought to a conclusion around when I was 21, 22 years old was the idea that to be a billionaire, you have to be at the top of a food chain. You had to have gotten in early in something that was going to be successful. My example would be Mark Zuckerberg. The success of all the other people who started different types of social media platforms after him only made him richer. That type of thing. It's almost like after a certain level of work, your growth becomes automatic. It's why sometimes when people are talking about billionaire, like, why is Elon Musk still trying to be a trillionaire? Why is, like, the world can't help, but he's not working hard to do that. He has to work harder to actually lose money. Than to become a trillionaire that he's just become now. Honestly, it's muscle memory for him at this point. It's not work anymore. So he's not like wanting to become a trillionaire and becoming one. I think the only time you get that desire is if you want to be a millionaire, and maybe a little reduced if you want to be a billionaire. But after that, I think after 500 million, money no longer really motivates you. What do I know? But I've heard it from people who have made that money. So that's what they say. And I believe them. Because why lie, you know?
Hey guys, I know you're enjoying this episode. So if you're not following, check the app you're listening on and make sure to follow. Okay, bye.
This pattern came full circle for me when in uni I did Loom. When Ponzi schemes were raining, MMM and the rest, I did Loom. Loom was this one on WhatsApp. You know, there's this circle, you join, you be the outer circle, and you keep going in, and inside you get paid. Millennials and some Gen Z will know what I'm talking about. And so I script 1,000 naira so that I could join Loom. I didn't even have a smartphone safe. It was my roommate, Pascal, that had to join a group on my behalf. And when I could scrape, because I was broke as shit. When I could scrape together 1,000 naira, I finally scraped it and gave him. And then I realized that I'm probably the last person on earth to join Loom. Because as I joined, like, that is how everything finished. Loom did not pay anybody that I heard of, you know. And that Ponzi scheme collapsed. And that was 1,000 naira. But for me, you know, the Loom money that I was expecting to come through would have done. Imagine 1,000 is big for you. So imagine what 8K would have done for you. So I was really hurt by it. And then I realized most billionaires that I'm thinking of, you know, started something. They were at the top of the Ponzi scheme. I wasn't getting ideas to start a Ponzi scheme. My idea was to get in early. If I'm going to sink my teeth in something, I should not be one of the last people to be entering. I should be one of the first. And I just, you know, thought about this, and it registered somewhere in my mind. And I forgot about it and went on to live my life. And then it was until that time in 2022 that I listened to that girl's podcast she sent to me, and I'm like, what is this stuff? Whatever this is, I like it. I want it, you know, to be able to just talk and then put it out for people to listen. I know I can even add music. I'm mad. So I wanted to, whatever that was, I wanted to do that. And so I came into podcasting with passion. From the angle of passion, I was doing my thing, saying things that I wanted to say. And I would say I even encountered early immediate success. But it was from people around me. You know, the podcast was growing, but it was a thing where I send it, every episode, I send it to my contacts to listen to it. I still do it, send episodes to my contacts, and then they in turn share it. And so there's a string of people who listen to my podcast and also knew me personally. And I always have arguments in my DMs with them about some of my opinions, because my opinions then too were, you know, unorthodox, and not even that, it's still unorthodox. The problem then was my delivery. You know, I was very, very rash, and, you know, now, see, the younger you are, the more you're not seeing how big life is. So when you're focused on something, you're just radical about it. And so I used to be very radical and rash when speaking. And that used to attract a lot of attention. And so from a place of passion, I began to now think about it as a thing that could potentially give me money. Especially when all these other podcasts were coming around, what views could do. And for a while, that was really my focus. For a long time, so I thought I would call up until this point the midpoint of the existence of the podcast. And around that period is when I was always like heavy on making videos and things like that. Those were not really the style I wanted to. It's just that podcast came into this country and took a different shape for it to be able to go mainstream, which is the televised interview shape. That one-on-one connection with the audience. I don't want the audience of my podcast to be like fans watching something that they're not talking to them. I want it to be very, very, even if there's a guest, it should still feel, like a conversation, but unfortunately you cannot talk, but you still feel a certain level of connection beyond just the message that is passed, that you want to come back next time because there's a depth of connection there. And I don't think those interviews do that. It's almost like the adorer versus the adored. So we that are watching those talk shows are adorer, and the people on TV are the adored. That dynamic, I don't want that. But that is what became popular. So I was trying to, do that dynamic too, doing interviews and trying to get celebrities on, popular people on my show. And I had a lot of friends and family that would always be very, very encouraging, trying to say, oh yeah, I know this person, I know this person. Yeah, you should probably call him. So I wasn't really thinking, what is this podcast about? And what are we saying? It was like, yeah, maybe this guy will make me go viral. And then maybe after I go viral, I can start, doing it the way that I really enjoy it. Which does not make sense because most times people are doing what they want to do. And then when they become viral and start having all this external attention and pressure, that is when they change to fit the public. So I was basically chasing the public. To no real success. So it was like flipped. I just said, I'm just gave up on looking at the podcast as a business opportunity. I already have a sort of income that I'm comfortable with. So I should be able to take off the pressure from my podcast and I just do it for fun. It was almost as soon as I do that, somebody said, aha, he has done it, and turned off a switch or on a switch. And then the podcast has become more valuable. And the new ideas. Here's the thing. When you put fence and barriers around your life, that is when you actually have more freedom. Let me explain. When I was doing videos, the idea of podcasting was broad for me. When they say podcast, in my mind, I'm thinking towards video, and I'm also thinking about distribution on Deezer, iHeartRadio, and I'm also thinking of distribution on YouTube and Instagram and some of these video platforms. So it was broad. So my creativity had too much surface area and not enough depth. But when I decided, look, one of my favorite forms of recording podcasts or working with podcasts is audio. It's the idea of audio and how much connection it can foster. I decided whatever I'm doing podcasts for is going to be audio only. And then that way, my creativity would work in depth in terms of how to make audio better. And it's almost like, instead of working in this large surface area, you carve out a little square and you start digging and you see that under that square is a whole new world that you can explore. And it's more fulfilling to do so. And that's what I found with audio. If you can make it rich, make it exciting, you reward the people who stay for that format of content. And that's what I want to do.
Hey guys, I know you're enjoying this episode. So if you're not following, check the app you're listening on and make sure to follow. Okay, bye.
The success of the Good Living podcast, with the amount of growth it gained around that period, then I knew that there was a market for this. There's an audience for this. I wasn't just doing this for fun with a few people. There could actually be hundreds of thousands of people listening to stuff, to content in this format. They just haven't been exposed to it yet. And then I saw the business opportunity in it. And then I remembered, I thought to myself, this is me getting in early in something. Yeah, podcasts are everywhere now, but trust me, it's in Nigeria that podcasts are everywhere in one format. Yeah, podcasts are everywhere in other places, but in this country, nobody really is doing it the way I intend to. And that way works. There's a guy they call Alex Lomberg. He has a company called Gimlet. Gimlet is a podcast production company, just like GoodLiving. Just Google Gimlet, or Google Wondery, or Google Noiser. Now, these are podcast networks from other countries, hugely successful. But I've seen the blueprint of these people, and how it always starts with passion, and then the opportunity is just too good to be ignored and underestimated, because it is not, the numbers around podcasting are not popular. The numbers are there, but advertisers and all this, but nobody's really looking at that field like that. So it's almost like this hidden gem thing. And that's why it's really difficult, and I've given up on really explaining the opportunity to people. I might be saying this to them, but I'm like, what's the point, So I've given up on doing that. I don't know if you notice, even when I wanted to do interviews on Good Living, I was always looking to talk to professionals, like people from different, distinct, unique walks of life. I don't know how much I expressed this that I'm expressing now, but there is evidence of it. So I had a list where I said I wanted to have lawyers, doctors, these people, that people of different profession, mortuary attendant, prisoner, with different experiences in life, because I was trying to target niche audiences via podcasting and really create a connection with them, each of them. And thus I wanted to do interviews with these people. And then I now realized how a podcast network works. And I realized that I could do this by launching different podcasts targeted at them, as opposed to deviating from the essence of Good Living, of the Good Living podcast, which is this, and going out on my way to do interviews, and starve my core audience. Why do that when I can simply create a new podcast? It may take time, it may take energy and effort and all that, but the people are there. It's just to package the content and get it to them. That's what I want. That's what gives me fulfillment. And then it's a business model that already works. So for me, starting the podcast network felt like a business opportunity that coincides with my life purpose. And this business opportunity is just about maturing in my lifetime. And that's how I've decided to chase it. At this point that I'm speaking to you now, we have a podcast launching in July. My wish and plan is that I have the whole season down before it starts coming out in July. That's what I want to do for all the podcasts. So that I have a period of production, which is this year, between now and the end of the year. I consider that to be my period of production. I will be collecting episodes, editing episodes, scheduling them, working on marketing and stuff like that for all these different podcasts. But in the meantime, there's a lot of work to do. At this moment, Real Matters only starts airing on the 20th of this month of July. And I've only got one quarter of the episode, one quarter of the season scheduled. So I've still got the majority of work to do. The podcast launching in September as well. I have 2 episodes down, so I think that one gives me a more favorable timeline. That's the one that I can actually get. That and Nigerian weight loss stories. Those are the 2 that I think I can have the full season down and really watch. And to be fair, those are the ones that I have much more faith in. Because Real Matters Only is a podcast that has already existed. It may do better, but I don't think that's exactly what's going to bring our first sponsorship or anything like that. Next up, I'm traveling. I'm making a couple of trips. One, to talk to the possible hosts of some future podcasts, to get stories for Nigerian weight loss stories, because the format of that one is not one single host. It's different stories from different people. I need to see my lawyer also, so we can understand the legal implications of my business and how to navigate that side of things, especially contract with these people that I'm working with, the podcasters and these other, to develop structures and systems efficiently with proper legal backing. And after that trip, I think I would have tied up the knots and be ready for the release of Real Matters Only, and then what would eventually be the full announcement of the podcast network. The essence is to really use this podcast to unbox and deconstruct my thought patterns around the network. And maybe while I'm talking, or from even insights from the listeners, I can get ideas, We can walk through this together. It's been fantastic for you guys to see the beginning and the eventual success of it. Fingers crossed. Because one thing I enjoyed doing was the NYC series, being able to go back to a point in time where I was recording how things were going on in real time and recapture those feelings and appreciate how far I've come. That's something I like to do often. I think many people should do. Posting pictures does that, but if you're recording it in writing or in words, coming back to this episode when there's some uncertainty and I know there's a lot of difficulty in front, how fulfilling is it going to be?